selling for law enforcement is outrageously complicated and slow and expensive and risky and relationship 99% driven. I mean, you got to show up like 17 times perfect for law enforcement for them to start trusting you.
This is the Startup Junkies Podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the Startup Junkies Podcast. Thanks for tuning in from however you're tuning in with us. My name's Caleb Talley. I am a startup junkie, joined by my Startup Junkie co-host, Matthew Ward. How's it going, Matthew?
Living the dream, man.
Living the dream indeed. We are joined by our friend Steph Hammett of HMS here on the podcast today. How's it going, Steph?
It's going really well.
We're excited to have you. And for those tuning in that are new to HMS, it is not a royal ship. It is a startup that she has built and is building and launching. We're excited to learn more about it.
Yeah, thank you.
So we like to start off kind of, Jeff coined the term, almost like your Marvel origin story. So if we were to jump into Steph's Marvel origin story, kind of take us through the synopsis of that film.
I like it. I actually love Black Widow, and she used a line. She said, "I've lived many lives."
All right.
Really resonates. So from an origin story, from my perspective, well, first off, I just want to say thanks for having.
And thank you.
Yeah, and thanks for doing this podcast around Bentonville and Northwest Arkansas and Fayetteville startups. Like, it's such an interesting community.
It really is, and I feel like I'm biased, obviously, but it's like offering up a little slice of the life we get to experience here at Startup Junkie, having kind of a touch point with this really cool ecosystem. So.
Yeah, I learned so much by listening to your podcast. So how I got to this podcast. And so if we start back before college, I was in Atlanta, and then I was a gymnast and then in cheerleading, and I got a sports athletic scholarship to the University of South Carolina.
Very cool.
And that was a really fun experience. I also learned how to bartend there, which was a key skill set for life.
Nice, yeah. That's awesome.
And then I jumped over after college and moved to the U.S. Virgin Islands for 3.5 years.
Not bad.
It was really fun. I highly recommend it for anyone. Just that culture change and that like getting immersed into a new culture that's just so different than what you're used to.
Mm-hmm.
So from there, I jumped in. I had to grow up. I came back to get my MBA and moved into corporate America. I spent a decade in Fortune 500.
Like two ends of the spectrum there.
I know, it really was. But I really enjoyed my time at both Kellogg's and Smithfield Foods. At Kellogg's, it was sales, account management. I was really learning how the world works from a sales angle, and how relationships within the buyer community, within the corporate structure work and get things done. And I was really interested in, besides the sales, and like the interconnectivity of how the organization works. So I was a part of employee resource groups, Women of Kellogg's, things like that. The WIC initiative, I was part of those kind of things. Then over in Smithfield Foods, I'd say it's one of the most fascinating parts of my career is when I got to actually own the P&L from the business. It's a business management department. And you own the P&L for product categories. So you own from the operational floor all the way to through the sales channels, and you own the profit of it overall. So being hands-on with pork to the end-to-end degree, like I got to manage McDonald's sausage patties at one point. Like it was fascinating. So launched pizza toppings. I also was really forward-leaning for Smithfield Foods. So launched e-commerce for them, launched a broker operations network to more organize how brokers work with food. And then my favorite was a sales communication platform. We built that bad boy in like 2016, maybe 17, 16. And it's still working today. I just heard like 2 months ago.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So it wasn't vibe coded or anything. It was before
the real deal.
Right. It's the real deal. Yeah.
And speaking of pork, it's like the corporate snout to tail, like metaphor. It's doing everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I can't believe I didn't use that. It's a great idea. Yeah. So awesome. That, believe it or not, both companies asked me to move to Bentonville. I told them no, never move. I'm never going to live in Arkansas. But my e-commerce agency was here. So I visited the 2 years we worked together. I visited a few times, and then I decided I was just kind of done with Virginia and maybe corporate for a little bit. So I decided to move myself to Bentonville and said yes to a really great startup opportunity here, and moved in 2018.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so that was OmniX. It was started by John and Colin Stormy and Rick Sauls, and they brought me onto their leadership team from OmniX. We did have an exit with OmniX. It was brand management for Amazon, so I jumped into the Amazon ecosystem and small business as I moved to Bentonville, Arkansas, and that was, we were really obsessive about our customers on Amazon, so that led to ChargeGuard, and when we developed ChargeGuard in 2020. Yeah, 2020, like a lot of things that came to market. And that was Amazon vendor wholesale recovery. So Amazon's holding a portion of an invoice. We built the processes to go get that money back. And it was fascinating, and it was hot, and it was relevant for the industry. And so we ended up exiting that to Carbon 6, which then turned around and sold to SPS Commerce for $210 million. And that was amazing. I really got to see like the power of entrepreneurship. I've been building these ecosystems for a while, and so that's kind of how I did some fractional executive work for a while, and then HMS just kept building, and now it's live, and now we're going after pilots.
Wow, that's awesome. I've often heard that like some of the best startup ideas that are the ones you can't kill, that even just bubble, even if you're not trying to kill them, but they just bubble up within like kind of your scope of what you want to do and what you're passionate about. And it's just like this thing, you've got to tackle it. And so tell us about HMS. What is HMS?
Oh, yeah. Thanks for asking. It's so much fun. Okay. So it would actually be like HMS cubed.
Okay.
And it started because, well, I'll just say it. There's a very, very big mission that we came to market, but we were going to be successful if we came to market a different way. So that's how an ecosystem came to wrap around the entire issue of sexual assault. And so it's have more safety first, and then have more sex, and then have more space.
Okay.
If we have safety, just bring them all together, and then, we're all in happier, more consenting, safe spaces.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So how does that come to fruition? Like, what does that look like in actuality, kind of the business model?
Yeah. Great question. So we have a direct-to-consumer arm, we have a B2B arm, and then we have a B2G arm, and we will be spinning out nonprofit for the first part of our mission work. So if I just go ahead and get the mission out of the way, because I'm going to be thinking about it if I don't say it. So we're looking to insert affirmative consent in all 50 state criminal codes by 2036.
Awesome.
And that means that we have a definition for consent in the criminal code. We have affirmative consent recognized in the criminal code. And most importantly, giving a lot of data, is that we are removing the requirement of force for this to be considered a crime. So these are the three things that we'll really tackle. I've got a great grid at my office that does like this heat map and this little Jeopardy quiz next to it,
Yeah, that's something we can link. But so tell me a little bit, I'm curious about that. So what does it look like now across the country in terms of that legal terminology? Is that kind of a gap there that exists? So tell us a little bit more about that.
Oh. Thanks for asking. Yeah, absolutely. It looks wild across the state. You would actually, if you look at it and you put red where the numbers are the hottest, especially if you look more at rape rate, which can be more specific to more systematic accountable problems. It's like the center of the country and up to the center in the north part of the country, that's all red. And these coasts are like, not red. And Alaska is the worst on the list. And then the root cause is remoteness. Arkansas is the second worst on the list.
Wow.
Root cause still to be determined. I have hypotheses, but I won't bore us with those until we get some more data behind them. But second worst on the list. And the numbers, if you look at per 100,000, where we see the positive sign is on New Jersey. New Jersey installed confirmative consent back in 1997, and their rape rates are the lowest in the country by far. Wow. Yeah. And so Colorado did installed affirmative consent into their criminal codes in 2020, maybe 21. And their convictions went up immediately. The reporting rates came to like a more actualized reporting rate to represent, the unreported rates that are as well as a problem. And it was passed like bipartisan unanimously. Like there wasn't an objection.
Be, right?
Yeah. Like there's not a lot of objection to the ideas behind this.
Well, so there's like clear correlation in the data of that, it sounds like. And so what do you think I guess kind of expanding on, I guess, what the avenues are for individuals who are reporting, giving them kind of more legal ground to stand on, I guess, in those situations where I understand it could probably be, the ambiguity can be scary, I can imagine. So just to give them kind of more ammunition, not ammunition, but like more legal code to support that avenue, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
This is me not understanding the legal process whatsoever. But
yeah, that's exactly it, right? Because at the end of the day, you have a jury of 12 people that need to agree, right? So they need to have some kind of agreed book. And if you make that align more with where morals actually exist, like that helps on the jury side, which helps set the prosecution up for success. And so adjusting these prosecution mechanisms so that they align with criminal codes that then align closer to our morals and gives the prosecution black and white things to take forward.
Yeah.
And then also, as you would see in our BTG line, law enforcement with the detectives, like helping set up detectives for success.
That's awesome. So what does the go-to-market strategy look like for you thus far?
Thanks. Okay, so we have, I get excited about every question. I just can't help it. This is how you know you're building a good startup.
Exactly.
Every question. Like, yes.
It's like, well, it makes me feel good as the question asker too. I'm like, all right.
Nice. Good to know. Yeah. Okay, so we have D2C, B2B, and B2G. And so our D2C, this is consent codes. It's live. It launched on April Fool's Day, April 1st, because this is a lot of research. So I served on the YWCA board back in Virginia. I've worked in different cases across HR. So this has been a topic that I have one-to-one been addressing for a long time. And now we're just kind of going more many-to-many, right? And so we launched on April Fool's Day because 70% of this book should be a joke, but it's not, right? And the back half of it, though, does get into codes that you can for yourself help change your own consent situation. Like delete what's not good for you, edit things that aren't serving you, and then save the things that do work for you. So trying to codify it down all around consent. And this is what launched our D2C line. We made the entity live in October last year. So our direct-to-consumer line has the book live now.
That's awesome.
We will be doing a pocket version of this book that'll go, we're really going to get to our university pilots to print them first.
Cool.
Yeah, 10 pages that if you read nothing else, here's some questions, right? We do have condoms, of course.
Yeah.
We hand these out at South by Southwest. We did a lot of street interviews. We have stickers. And then, of course, we have merchandise, right? We have all kinds of forms, merchandise. And we have an Instagram channel. We have surpassed 700 followers recently.
Awesome.
On our path to 1,000.
Yeah. It's like we're going to put it right there across the bottom in the edited version. So follow.
And it is havemore.sex on Instagram because we're trying to push the envelope there. We'll do different handles whenever we're more concerned about shadow
probably
banning.
Good for the algorithm, right?
Especially because we label it under education, and we are trying to bring a lot of sex education on that channel. So check us out.
Awesome.
We're exciting and fun.
Awesome. And so the merch kind of is a revenue stream, I'm assuming, but also a good marketing stream, obviously, too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
It'll be a better revenue stream when we stop handing them out. But right now we're just exposure.
That's fair, yeah. That's fair.
If you want to wear it, we'll give it to you.
Are you investing in a t-shirt cannon or?
Yes. Yes, 1,000%. So we are with D2C. We're looking to get on podcasts right now, right?
Awesome.
Just because this topic needs to be talked about, and it's really great to meet any user where they're at.
Yeah.
And then I can go into B2B if we want to go there.
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
Dive right in.
Yeah. So on B2B, this is what we just launched. We've had one pilot ready for us so far this year in the state of Arkansas, one of the flagship schools. They've supported us since the beginning. But now we're launching we'll take more pilots, but I'm really focused on getting us 20 pilots and a scaled mechanism sold into 20 universities to drip our merchandise all across the campus and put it in students' hands. And we're focused on Arkansas. We will ship nationwide. We want 20. We will accept more. But I really want to get obsessive about these 20 and help make sure that the products land. We could build digital material. We will build digital material. We have an idea that we have a draft that's 7 topics, and it's a masculine version and a feminine version, and they're 90 seconds. And it helps to bridge the gap for parents to talk to their kids about education. And that same idea we're going to build for RAs to talk, or have references. And, the topics are no, yes, your body, love, substances, friends, and digital world. And so me making these tiny tools that can make a huge impact if someone just reads them one time. And then also what that does is clear up the communication at this university level where it's just such an interaction, a hotbed. And it also supports the idea to be more accountable whenever we have people that need to be held accountable.
Yeah. But it's more proactive and less reactive. As it seems, it's always reactive. There's it's almost like PR crisis reactive as opposed to actual resource proactive.
I'm so glad that you said that, because the support these days for a survivor is amazing. Even when funding gets cut, like there's so. It's not only ran by women, but I will say the percentage of women leaders in the sexual assault space is way higher than percentage of women leaders for other business industries. And these women, there's like no survivor that will go unsupported. There's but it's hard to want that, and it's hard to go find it even when you know you want it. But that network of the support after the fact is totally there. And there's an African proverb about like, why are all the kids in the river? We're so good at getting them out of the river, but why are the kids in the river? And that's kind of what we're trying to jump into, like what's happening before the river starts.
Where are you finding that gap? Like the gap in why aren't universities, why haven't they been proactive? I mean, there's obviously a need for this. And so, this gap has created an opportunity for the startup. But like in terms of, and then in terms of victims to resources, are you finding that people are proactively trying to find those resources after the fact, or is it more the other way around? The resource provider is trying to extend that resource out to those who need it.
Yeah, great question. I think some of the initial resources that survivors are pointed towards are really lacking, and they detract a survivor for looking forward.
They're just like, yeah. So
they're like that free legal consult and the person who gave me 5 minutes at the law enforcement agency. Like I still
doesn't feel approachable. Doesn't feel
so the survivor organizations like the Sexual Assault Center of Northwest Arkansas is one of the best in class, and they reach out and try to like make sure they're present whenever anyone wants to find them. And a lot of organizations do that. I'd say if they weren't doing that, it would be much harder. And then also in light after all of the Epstein things, there's things that happen in the brain for a survivor, and it impacts, we can do biohacking, but it impacts the 3 areas of the brain that really push someone into more of an entrepreneurship style, because it increases their creative functions, and it maybe decreases their like longevity planning functions. And so there's been like an explosion of like survivor entrepreneur support things. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And with your journey, going from corporate to working in the startup world and then doing your own startup, we have a lot of listeners that are in the corporate world. They're interested in entrepreneurship. They're not sure where to start. What have been some of the biggest insights or like lessons that you've learned along the way with building HMS squared?
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. One of the reasons that, because there's a lot of, as you heard from my background, there's a lot of businesses I could go start, right? So I think this really leans into your question as to why do I keep pushing this and keep wanting to make it bigger. Some of the things, like, I guess as a builder and as an operator and as someone who's worked on systems across like multiple industries, you start pattern recognition. And this pattern recognition underneath systems that work well and that make people feel safe and make people do the great things they didn't think they could do, like those patterns are consistent. And they feel good for people. So they're not that hard to see once you start learning that kind of recognition. So for this, one of the things that looks like is that whenever we decided to come to the market with Have More Sex, the amount of excitement and alignment that we got. We were like, God, you don't even have to try to push this brand. Now our design team is genius, as you'll see, but that sold itself, right? And then when we found the solution and tied it to our mission, like the solution actually draws an accountability line that people get to stop squiggling out from under. And whenever you start holding that part of it accountable, then the rest of it will almost solve for itself with a little direction. So seeing that there's like, laser focused solution, and then of course addressing a TAM, right? Can you find a customer? So once like the university angle and the law enforcement angle with the work I do with Clipper, once one of those two started coming in, there was like the pattern recognition and the clarity of these patterns. And I was like, well, if I don't work on this, it's only because it's sexual assault now. Like this is a good business. So those moments I think are like, when you care about something and you're an entrepreneur and you're dancing around it, when those signals become clear and become loud, like having the intuition to listen to them, it's really, really powerful.
The Startup Junkies podcast is brought to you in part by Arise. Arise helps Arkansas tech and tech-enabled startups grow with no-cost coaching, capital navigation, and expert connections so founders can scale faster. Learn more at arisearkansas.org.
with a sensitive topic like this, when you're talking to university officials, how do you breach this subject with them where they're like, okay, this will make an impact, like we want to do a pilot? How do you sort of bridge that gap with them on the scenario and how your solution comes in and solves that problem? How do you frame that?
Yeah. Ask me again in 6 months. I'll tell you if it works. But
We'll send them this podcast.
please do. Yeah, this would save me a lot of explanation in a sales call. Right now, we've been working on warm intros. I got to say, I haven't had someone that's found us cold at a university side and said, I want to do it, right? It's someone that's met me, met a team member. So we're still looking to see, like, how do we target and then land that cold outreach? And we haven't been trying that hard either, right? We're doing a lot of things. But everything that we do send out resonates, like, in the moment now. And the principle that we carry forward, so if you look at our sales process, it has an intro and it has a close. And obviously the gap is to get those the closest as possible. So that number 2 is not the stage that typical sales processes say, like, how fast can stage 2 get done? What's the exact thing that's going to happen from step 1 to step 2 to get past stage 2? It's more of the space to hold someone's curiosity, to hold someone's tension, to hold someone's friction, to hold whatever scripts they have that prevent them from thinking that consent is a positive thing for every student, right? Because at its core, like, can't find anyone that disagrees at its core because we're all humans, unless they have malicious intentions. And so I think a key to success is being able to, and to, like, right now I have a highly Christian university that's very interested in working with us, but there's a lot of nerves about talking about this, right? Because their students sign a celibacy pact, and that matters, right? And there's a whole angle here that, then there's also the world with which in we live, and there's also intimacy with self, right? So we can always just take it back. How you treat yourself with consent. How do you listen to your own signals, right? And if you take it back all the way there for an institute that is really far away from the highly engagement type, then it's like meeting that user and sitting with them and asking the questions and having the conversation to just figure out where the solutions fit, or being comfortable if they don't, right? And that some of that looks like a really, like, open, slow curiosity, right? And maybe even like a tangential kind of curiosity, right? So you're not like, if I could just shove this in the hands of every 13-year-old, right? Like I would, but like that won't work. So having that besides the curiosity, I think there's some point of bringing the structure to it. Sometimes whenever I have a very nervous audience on the other side, whenever I bring to them the structure of our workflow, of how we build products, of how we're going to market, right, it can kind of desensitize some of the sensitivity, the hotness on it.
Yeah. And that university as a customer too, I mean, that cycle, it can't be easy to begin with. I think about selling into, and this from the Clipper perspective, selling into municipalities, and that kind of, it's probably a longer sales cycle. I'm not sure what that customer, and I'll ask that as a kind of follow-on question of, like, is the university the customer? But I think about, and it just popped into my head when you were talking about the Christian university, well, even state schools, like the University of Arkansas, for example, other state schools. I thought about an example. Wasn't the University of Arkansas, but it was an Arkansas school, state college, that had an event annually called Sex on the Lawn. It was like their courtyard, and they would have exhibitors, and it was sex education, safe sex practices, things like that. All of these very positive things that that no one should disagree with. Someone from that district in the state legislature came across, I guess, a flyer for that, misinterpreted the language around it, threatened to withhold state funding for that university if they did not pull back from such programming, because they viewed it as promoting promiscuous behavior, I guess, whatever. But I'm just thinking about those just ridiculous, if I may say, interpretations of things like that. I feel like that's got to add a layer of complexity to the college, the university as a customer avenue too. And this is not even a question, that's just me speaking.
Speaking about my core customer and hot topics. I mean, I feel like we're doing a strategy session here.
Yeah, basically. But just that thought came to my mind. It was like, gosh, that's got to, so not only are you bridging that gap, you're also bridging an education gap for individuals who, in that perspective too, imagine. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think if you this is brilliant. If you start to look at the actual psychology of the ecosystem of the universities and the buyers that make the decisions, right? Like, you haven't heard me say at all that we are going to have any accountability to your Title IX funding, right? Like, there are huge companies. One of them is going to want to buy us one day that are doing the Title IX compliance check boxes, and that information's landing. But the data just shows that it's not being effective.
Yeah.
And so we, like right now, our pilot package is $500, $499 actually. And it could actually be a $7,500 package if you were to go all in for your university, or if you're a smaller campus and you want to bring on some workshops or some speaking engagements that we offer. But this $500 package that we rolled out is literally so that a professor, a dean of a college, someone on the athletic side, someone on the Greek side, anyone willing to spend $500 or has a budget with $500 left over can just get these products in hand and start what I call the drip effect before like the festival rains all the things in.
Well, I could see there being so many potential buyers within the university setting that have their own P&L, because I also know from limited experience that universities, their procurement processes are so crazy that, the fraternity or sorority, they're managing their own P&L, I feel like, most of the times. And those are the places where this should be deployed probably sooner. And maybe even like whoever's managing a dorm facility should be deploying this in those dorms through RAs and things, as you mentioned too. So there's also just a strategy session, not even a question. It's just like there's these other little like tentacles where it can be organically effective from the ground up, as opposed to, that procurement office that, cusses people out over buying a dongle for their laptop on Amazon rather than their preferred provider or whatever.
Yes. Yes. 1,000%. I hope that my lead buyer has come across these products and been handed them like 3 or 4 times before we actually meet, right? That by the time I show up, I want them to be
Sells itself.
Can we just buy this now? Because, it's in our students' hands.
That's great. So the other avenue too. So in the law enforcement, we don't want to skip over that too. Tell us a little bit about that avenue as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we shift, can I just tell you real fast what's in the the pilot package? I just realized I didn't think to say it. So it's 4 things right now. So it is the book, consent codes, and it's pocket version of it. And then we have pocket anatomy. So for both the masculine and the feminine, we have the actual parts that we're getting 3D printed with silicone through a partnership here within the wonderful NWA ecosystem. Awesome. To really put things in your hands that helps you, that it'll go to education on terminology, on basic biology, these things that, can be found on an LLM, but just in a way that'll get absorbed. Yeah. And then the landing page that I was speaking about as well, as far as how it lands with RA. So that is our total package. In case you're like, how do I go sign up? Have more space. You don't have to be a university to get a package. So then going over to the BDG, the business to government side. Gosh, what's funny? Honestly, if I were to just go do what Stefanie wants to do all the time, I would just make the perfect tools for detectives and change criminal codes. And everything else is like fun or a great business model or just something like exciting. But this BDG side is real serious. I mean, I've been working with customer success with Clipper for a year now, and I'm hands-on with officers for pilots for them to start to use Clipper, and it's using AI to assist the officer with their reporting. So it goes from body cam to first draft, they're editing it and moving on. That it's, ready for every patrol, ready for every detective. And I work with the officers hands-on to overcome some of those hurdles around is prosecution going to accept this and I'm not going to lose my job, and where's the robot, and things that matter. So we worked through those challenges, and that's just been able to give me my book in here. I have a section that I had a few law enforcement agents read for me, because I was like, this doesn't sound like I hate law enforcement, right? me.
It's like, hey, we're good, right?
Yeah, right. I'm literally putting my sweat into you guys, so I don't know how to show you more love. Awesome. And so the book goes into that, to this talk about a rock and a hard place that law enforcement is in, between the word of mouth conversation, the loose regulations in between. So selling into law enforcement, right now from just how AI is working in their ecosystem. Clipper's already agreed to do the product building with us.
Awesome.
And so it's, we're in the underneath product engineering side. Like it's really beautiful there. And we're looking at how do we take the information that you can get on a sexual assault case and how do you frame that up for detectives? Now, Clipper doesn't care as much about sexual assault as HMS does, right? There's a lot of cases, right? DUIs are pretty simple. And, then there's a lot of cases that can get templatized and served well. And the selling for law enforcement is outrageously complicated and slow and expensive and risky and relationship 99% driven. I mean, you got to show up like 17 times perfect for law enforcement for them to start trusting you. But, I mean, they witness multiple times a day the worst part of humanity. So it's not their fault that they have, their own trust barriers.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I love that side of the business. I think it's going to be huge. I think Clipper is going to be huge for law enforcement in general. And then I think Clipper being able to help HMS with this is going to, we're just, more cases closed.
Yeah, exactly. So going back to kind of, you mentioned too, kind of identifying the patterns and the processes and kind of as you were identifying, this is something that you could help build and solve and work on. How do you square that very structural founder mentality with a mission-driven project and like kind of balance that? You mentioned like you could just dive into this one, but like the mission would almost kind of have you, of course, have these other, parcels to it as well. How do you square that all? Like, satisfying the mission with also like, deploying a real startup that is generating revenue and in the market and selling?
Great question. Such a great question. Biohacking? Is that an answer? The appropriate timed cold plunge for shifting, right? Like,
still working on that.
Yeah, still working on it. There's so much passion that comes with startups that it is really about channeling. It boils all down to what are your routines, and can you put the acceleration of your routine in line with the priority that needs to be prioritized, and needs to be prioritized for the business overall. So if you're looking at your business in like this small window, that's all you're going to prioritize. And if you're looking at your business like from a macro view, then that's what you'll prioritize. But sometimes the macro view is nothing but distractions and balloons and parties. So like you've got to find like that path that feels really true to you, to where you can start having the yeses and the nos come with like a real alignment, so that you don't have like some kind of internal friction, like I'm trying to be here, but I should be there, or someone else wants me to be there. And it's a real challenge, especially when you start resonating with people, right? And then you want to be able to respond to everyone in 20, like the officers and my pilots, like I want to, if I see a message and I haven't answered in 12 hours, like the amount of shame that goes on in my head, I'm like, it's not, that will totally derail staying prioritized on everything.
Yeah. And I imagine too, there being a level of like, you mentioned like responding to feedback, like there's I'm sure a level of iteration in that customer discovery process that you're trying to balance with kind of what the data says and all of those factors coming into this one like massive flow of info. And again, not even a question, just a statement.
Yeah. I heard in y'all's podcast, y'all talked a few times about Newton's law of motion. And I really resonate with that when you started talking about the motion side of, things being met with things in motion being met with an equal or opposite force.
Absolutely.
Right. And so the motion we're trying to go get equal or opposite to is like, universe, like these big things. So
absolutely.
Yeah. The momentum is probably one of the things it would debate for kind of a first answer, like being able to utilize momentum as opposed to spinning out when there is none. It's like it's a mental health session for entrepreneurs.
That's what Storm Junkie is. We watched Project Hail Mary over the weekend, and I don't know if y'all have seen that movie yet, but they've got the translation device, and it's an interstellar being that's talking to Ryan Gosling, and he ends each, if it's a question, he goes, question? And it's or statement. So I'm going to start saying that statement. Tangent. Yeah, that one's free. Great movie. What is something that people don't understand about your business and that you want to just like, if this is your opportunity to clear it up, like what misinterpretation or something they don't fully grasp about what you're trying to do?
I think something that people grasp after we voice it that's like this light bulb moment that I want to stop being a light bulb moment is the idea that asking is hot and consent is your own approach to humans and human behavior. It's like it literally can be your questions around consent can be your gateway drug to every interaction that you want. And once you help someone understand that, it's like they open up their own capacity for engagement. And that's a beautiful moment that I want to see happen more and not feel like, we don't need to teach that anymore, And there's a phrase I don't get to say very often, but it's like, it resonates. It's creating more sexually evolved communities so that we have like some other countries have this where there's like a desensitized to it. And that being in a presence where there's more sexual evolution in that way creates a lot of like more intimate, deeper connections just across business, across industry, and not in ways that like violate relationships and boundaries and things, just in a way that everyone feels very comfortable engaging. And there are communities that operate in that way, and I just would love to see more of them. And,
It feels like it kind of goes back to that like abstinent mindset. It's like people, despite that teaching, like that kind of theory, people do what they want to do anyway, and it almost like creates barriers to like doing things safely, or like it just, that freeing nature, I guess, is what I'm trying to get to. It's like that those arbitrary barriers that it's not scary, I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Statement.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Exactly. 1000%. Yeah, thanks for resonating with that.
So one of the ways we like to land the plane on the podcast, stewardess prepare for landing. We like to ask our guests to go flip your tray tables back. We like to ask our guests if they could go hop in their time machine, go back in time, whether that be before you started this venture or began this journey, or back to before jumping into corporate world, or even just young Steph. What advice would you give young Steph with all the accumulated knowledge that you have now? What would you impart with her? Besides buy more land in Northwest Arkansas, 20 years ago, or
say yes to a relocation package.
Exactly. Yeah.
Instead of sending yourself. No, that's a great question. I think I have two answers. I think only two. I feel like it takes a bit to no, there's three. Understand the power. The first one kind of over entwines. I always have three. I should just start with the number three. The value of presence. I think it becomes so obvious at some point in life that the power of presence is where anything actually gets done, and how commoditized it gets is something that I wish I would have like been more dialed in to myself earlier and valued more. And then that kind of just ties in with biohacking. Like I think I mentioned earlier, but like if I had told myself biohacking's real, I was figuring it out way earlier and just didn't, believe it. And then I think we touched on it earlier, but there's I would have told myself that the clarity that you do see matters, and to like understand and lean into that clarity when it is there, instead of like getting some kind of clarity and then still doubting it. There's like a point of like some kind of intuition polish that like somewhere around my mid-30s at the time that like I started seeing something clear, it all of a sudden had like bedazzles around it. And I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. But I there was no reason I couldn't have been doing that at 12 years old. Like I clearly know this rock is for me, right? Like it's, so I think just not like, there's something about adulthood and the way I adulted that like carved that off that was unnecessary.
It's like carving off the self-doubt around it. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So for those who want to know more about you, know more about HMS, and want to plug in, want to purchase, want to connect them to their university or law enforcement, any of the avenues, where can they find out more about both?
Yes,
you
thank
and the
you.
company?
I am on LinkedIn, Stefanie Hammett, and it's Stefanie. Steph. It's another reason why I went by Steph. It's the F is there. The book is on Amazon. I am at Steph@havemore.space is my email. Our website is havemore.space. Our website contains fields at which you can sign up for being a university pilot. You can also go to our merch shop and buy some cool merch to support us. So
that's awesome.
And then on Instagram, it's havemore.sex.
Awesome. You already there? All right. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to share with a friend. Subscribe and review because it matters to us and we want to hear from you. If you're interested in learning how to work with us, check out the information below. See you next week.